What's up? What's up? How's it going? I actually made it a little early today. This is crazy. What's up, Primate? I know you chatted a while ago, so what's up? What's up? Here, and I'm queer. On God. It's been quite a time this week on the PC market. Not with releases, but with drama. Pretty excited about this. By the way, how does the music sound, guys? Does that sound? What's up, Sub Joe? What's up, Daz? I look too orange. Yeah, it's up to him. Good. Hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm not gonna mess with it. Like, I don't have saturation anyways. I don't even add any. Good level? Okay. Doing some synthwave today. How you guys feel about that? There's only so many options on Stream Beats. But is it built a 3080 rig? Is it any good now? I mean, 3080s are still fast, dude. 10 gigabyte is a little bit of a problem. And what's up, Kale? What happened with LTT? Did LTT speak on Asus? What's up, Cameron? Dude, Asus has literally made 2 IED motherboards. They've done it twice. Yeah. Yeah, 3080s are like $450 on the used market right now. They're amazing. LTT is ignoring. I could see them doing a little hit piece. They might be waiting until this stuff pans out. Let me see. What did they upload today? Oh, I don't think they did. They haven't even uploaded today. But they're live right now. By the way, guys, for real disappointing. Cameron, you have an Asus motherboard too, bro. You're screwed. It's gonna explode. By the way, so they do a WAN show on Fridays. Would it be better if I don't stream on Fridays and stream on like a Thursday or something? Would that work for more of you guys? I don't know how many people want to watch WAN show. Linus gets a lot of it. He probably does. I mean, he worked directly with them on what's it called? On the that ROG Ally. This is all really unfortunate timing for the ROG Ally. And that's probably why Asus is hoping this all just blows over. Dude, they might arrest you. You better watch out, Dave. They go gigabyte until avoid all these dramas. That's what it is. Something's always gonna be happening somewhere. Dude, if you can cook something over your motherboard, then that'd be sick. Get some s'mores or something. Thursday would be better for you, probably, yeah. Because a lot of people are watching the WAN show are probably watching a WAN show right now, you'd think, right? They don't even pop into the stream. So I could maybe do like Thursdays. Thursdays might be more consistent for me too. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I kind of wanted to watch the Gamers Nexus video with y'all. Maybe some of you have seen it. I mean, it's doing quite well, so I'm assuming a lot of people saw it. I already listened to the whole thing. And yeah, it's quite a video. Poor Asus. Well, not poor Asus. Poor everybody who bought their motherboards. Yeah, the FX CPUs could really cook. Not gonna lie, dude. Who let them cook though? But yeah, I wanted to watch this with y'all.
In auto with this board until Expo is applied. We notice these. Asus is the
because it's pretty funny too. What's up, Hannibal? This video is pretty funny, as well as it being informational and kind of calling them out. And the big drama. What was I thinking? So the big drama with Asus is they're not helping the consumers at all. They're not honoring their warranties. They're just letting motherboards explode, and they even put out a BIOS that voids your warranty on their website. So there's trickery going on where people want to not have their CPUs cook, but also they're giving them a BIOS that voids their warranty with some people not even knowing. It's ridiculous. 1650 is underperforming. I don't know what to tell you there. It's a 1650. For those who dare. Kara, you gotta stop donating, bro. I'm gonna give you your money back. Yeah, but let's watch this video. This is pretty fun.
motherboard for those who dare.
Oh, sorry for everyone as well. Let me can I pull this up? 1 second. Let me pull this stream up really quick. Your boy just set up really quick members. You won't, yeah, you can see it here now. So if you're interested in joining, there's a $2 tier and a $5 tier. So I tried to make it like, you know, reasonable. And there's some funny little badges. So if you're interested in members, there you go. But yeah, let's watch this video.
Asus is the motherboard for those who dare.
I've got nothing. It's totally froze again. Oh, there you go. There you go. I got this 0D error.
Part of me, also because this is on Ryzen 7000, I was almost thinking that this whole thing as well is also growing pains for Ryzen 7000, and they just didn't get it right with the game. What should I call it? I could maybe change the name of it. I was trying to come up with a member name, and I just couldn't.
And this has been a recurring issue with this board. When I went to run this, I got a blue screen of death. I blue screened again. Might be the beginning and the end of it if it just keeps crashing every time I run a CPU load.
The BIOS update really plainly spells out, hey, if something goes wrong because of our BIOS, fuck you and fuck your board. You gotta give it to them. It's pretty accurate branding. You have to be very daring to want to introduce that to your home or your computer.
So I want to be a gamer.
So Asus right now is acting either negligently.
You hide the gear from other gamers. Bro, you're a scalper. My boy is a scalper.
Or extremely maliciously, in our opinions. And that's because of its absolutely panicked BIOS updates and its mixed messages on warranty support.
Wait, I only listened to this video.
BIOS update.
Oh, wait, how did this pass? 7000x60? Bro, they're in the 6th dimension. They're incredible.
And its mixed messages on warranty support, plus what it thinks of AMD Expo. So they're trying to resolve the self-immolating CPU problem, and if you missed that video, definitely go watch that before this one. It's
dude, these problems, like when a motherboard breaks and a CPU breaks, it almost like breaks my heart, because that's like what, like $300 or $400 of just like unusable. You can't use this anymore. And then it has to get thrown out. It's so sad. Are you selling this X60? Oh, dude, I'm down. What does that have, like a terabyte of cache in it?
It's really cool video.
This breaks my
and
heart though when this happens.
But not only has Asus's newest BIOS not fixed the problems, it is acting in an extremely scummy and we think unethical way as it tries to slither out of any responsibility. Before that, this video is brought to you by Deepcool and the new Zero Dark series of AK620 and AK400 CPU coolers. We previously reviewed the AK620.
I don't know how to pronounce your name. I think it's Arabic. But if you keep spamming in chat, you're gonna get banned. So stop spamming.
And AK400 and found them to be among a new crop of extremely competitive coolers for the price. The new Zero Dark and Zero Dark Plus variations move out to a black.
I mean, dual performance, I'd say this is partly like it could be because 7000 series is new from AMD with Ryzen. It could be that. I mean, but AM4 was surprisingly very stable for years and years and years.
Blackout color design with blackout FDB fans. The heatsinks otherwise have the same characteristics as those that we tested previously and found to be well performing.
By the way, I'm playing the ad to support them.
Just with a fresh new look. Learn more at the link in the description below. First, Asus ships a BIOS that blasts SoC voltage and overshoots OCP in a way that degrades or just incinerates the chips. Next, Asus ships a BIOS update that requires you to agree to void your warranty if you install it to...
Let's actually read this. Please note that this beta BIOS version of the motherboard is still undergoing final testing before its official release. The UEFI, its firmware, and all content found on the platform is as is and as available basis. Asus does not give any warranties, whether express or limited, as to suitability, compatibility, or usability of the UEFI. Except as provided in the product warranty as to the maximum extent permitted by law. Asus is not responsible for direct, incidental, or consequential damage. Okay, this is worded pretty interesting.
Stop.
So what they're saying is that it's not quite I'm wondering if like you get this BIOS and you try the beta, yeah, your warranty is bad there, but if you go to the next BIOS, like when it isn't beta anymore, full release, is it okay? Or do you get your warranty back? Or once you hit this warranty, or once you get this BIOS, is it screwed? It's intentionally vague, I know that, but it's kind of scary. Yeah. And who said that I had problems with their card? I would just say like make sure you're on the latest drivers and even use DDU to uninstall all your drivers and then reinstall them. And then also double check your paste and your temperatures to make sure everything's running properly.
Stop the CPUs from exploding from their first fault, and it's actually kind of brilliant, because it's the quickest way to avoid all long-term liabilities on their balance.
Oh, dude. It's cooking. It's cooking.
Balance sheet. And none of that is to mention Asus's strong commitment to encourage users to just hit F5 and run default on their fancy $700 premium motherboards with their embedded controllers that do nothing useful at all, apparently, because they could...
Do you guys remember just back a few years ago when the high-end motherboards were $300 and that's where you got all your extreme features? Dude, now you get a $700 board. Now you get a $700... Thanks, Kevin. But you get a $700 board and it messes up like this, and it doesn't even have all the features usually. Doesn't even have everything you want. And I'm not alert, but the warranty would probably say voided even if you go back to the receipt. Maybe they can track that. I'm not 100% sure.
Stop these problems.
$1,000. It's ridiculous.
For some reason, we're not.
My motherboard was 100. That's what I use.
using them the way that makes sense. So if that's the stupid game that we want to play, then we are happy to award Asus with the stupid prize for the stupid game. We retested it with default, no expo, and it's not good.
Yeah, that's pretty disappointing, but let's see, give it one more go here.
So there's a couple parts to this video. One is a brief technical benchmark. One is looking at the VSOC changes. Another one is looking at expo and Asus's slimy behavior regarding warranties, BIOS updates where they're retconning things and retroactively changing the support list and trying to sweep stuff under the rug. Definitely check out the first video that's linked below. Again, it was a really fun educational video for us also, and it gets you.
By the way, did you guys watch the original video? I actually haven't seen it yet. I was gonna watch it and then I was like, I don't know if I'm like scared to watch the whole thing. It's probably gonna be pretty technical. Asus is my go-to MOBO. Go-to motherfucker. This is gonna be weird moving forward. Yeah. You saw it? ASRock passing the avoid at all costs. It's funny. ASRock is
all the basics
pretty
for why
decent
this
nowadays.
is happening. So first
ASRock even makes graphics cards now. I mean, think about that.
of all, again, Asus has been posting all over the place about run defaults. So that's what we did. We did exactly what Asus wanted. It didn't go well. It did not start well. So some of the memory kits we have actually won't even hold stable in auto with this board until expo is applied. We noticed these issues with some of the kits of memory and other boards as well. And so the reason is, without expo, if the kit requires, we think, a higher VDIM, which is different from VSOC, and you're not using expo and the board is running an auto VDIM that's on the lower side, then it just straight up doesn't work. So
it's like he's saying a lot of things. What's great about Gamers Nexus, he's saying a lot of things that you don't understand, but like, at least for me, like, I don't even know what the heck he's talking about. I barely ever mess with RAM timings. But he's saying things and it's like, I'm still watching the video. Like, he's not turning me off the video. Dude, ASRock is like a solid rock now. Average Asus customer buys a new one, just over one bent pin. They're two-part video. Yeah. Found.
So actually, Asus.
I like how technical they are. I'm not gonna pretend to understand what they're saying. I don't know what they're talking about.
In this instance, running defaults means not running at all, which we guess is a great way to.
Except I know the default thing. Obviously, you're using different RAM timings, and you know, when you use expo, it tries to optimize that to the best of your RAM's abilities to make the system stable and fast. But if you go to default timings, it's like trying to get baseline stable timings that are kind of, you know, not very fast, but it's kind of like overclocking. Well, I guess it is overclocking, isn't it?
Have to warranty a product because it just doesn't work. If that's what they want people to do, then we need to provide benchmarks to show you what you're giving up if you actually do that genuinely. Like, that's the whole point of this, is all the benchmarks we ran, and probably everyone else, involved expo, because it is a big part of the CPUs on the platform, just like XMP is for Intel, but expo is more proportionally beneficial from what we've seen for AMD than perhaps XMP is in some instances for Intel. And
let me get this clear, right? Like, expo and XMP are both the automatic versions of finding your RAM timings, right? The optimal timings. Whereas you can still do it manually, right? Pretty sure. Michael said, hey, just found your channel today. You're doing a great job, man. Thank you, man. Thank you. Gigabyte for their market leading boot times.
So it matters here. And if
pretty
any
sure
of you
that's
in the
what
audience were like, okay, fine,
Expo,
I'll turn expo
XMP
off,
is.
we want you to understand what you're giving up, because the benchmarks that we publish do not reflect that outcome. But before we go through those numbers, and before we talk about how Asus is being an unethical scumbag of a company, we need to first start with the VSOC changes, because we've got some.
See, like, he says VSOC, and I think what this is referring to is the voltage being sent to the RAM. But they're a little annoying. Like, I don't know what he's always talking about. The problem is AMD and motherboard partners advertise expo. If you use it, you break things and what? Yep. They use expo to get the time, like the performance that they advertise, But then they say don't use it because it is unstable to your system and it could void your warranty.
Simple objective facts for that. So
yeah, we close, guys.
Originally, we
close.
observed a VSOC set point of about 1.341.
Yeah, XMP doesn't void your warranty, but Expo does. Actually, I think XMP, they didn't explicitly say it's supported by a warranty, but they said, but they pretty much always honor it if you have a problem with XMP.
Volts, sometimes 1.35 volts with Expo 1. Asus has two Expo profiles. One is Expo 1, one is Expo 2, and the Expo profiles, they have one of those, is an Asus optimized one, and it doesn't actually mean that it's using the two different profiles that can be on the stick. There can be two Expo profiles on a stick, but that's not what Asus's Expo 1 and 2 mean.
Okay.
That would be too sensical. Instead, they have their own optimized one. With either of those, we're seeing 1.341 to 1.35 set, but that resulted in a 1.39 volt to 1.42 volts voltage.
And this was the main, my camera's kind of covering. I'll shrink down my camera a little bit. It will be there. So this was the main issue I know, is like the voltage would be set somewhere and then it'd be actually sending a different signal to the RAM and the CPU. And then using Expo would mess up the voltage of the entire motherboard than just, you know, sending voltage to the RAM like it's supposed to. So it's on Asus. It's on Asus.
When probed at the actual MLCC caps or at the VSOC checkpoints on the
basically
board
it's
when
lying
using Expo,
about
we
what
tested
voltage
that
it's sending.
with a multimeter externally. As a reminder,
Cooking
again,
itself.
that's not Expo's fault. That's Asus's fault. Expo, the profiles, do not contain a VSOC set point. The board decides what to set. So the
Okay, so let me just explain. Stalker. VSOC is the memory controller voltage that is in the CPU. Random AMD. Oh, okay, so that is the RAM controller telling the motherboard how much voltage to send to the RAM. That's kind of like a recursive thing, but
new BIOS version, which is 1410, the one that, we'll come back to this, voids the user's warranty to install, configures that to a 1.296 volt set, so about a 50 millivolt reduction from
I doubt they did any stress tests. I doubt they did. Because, like, at least not extensive. And I think part of the problems with, like, Asus and stuff is they put out so many products in such a short amount of time. Like, if you think about how many graphics card Asus puts out every year, if you think about how many motherboards, laptops, even ROG Ally, they make monitors, they put out so many products that I don't think that they test them extensively. I don't even think you can in the time frame that they're expected to get these products out.
previously. This then results in a 1.3369 volt measurement at the socket with Expo 1 and a G-Skill kit that we have. And with Expo 2, we saw a 1.3381 volt result. With Corsair, we measured 1.34 volts. So for all of the panic and the much ado about BIOS for the last week, Asus still couldn't get it right. It's still too high.
And they make phones too, yeah. They make too much. I think they've started to spread their arms too wide, and then they can't reach everything. You know what I mean?
AMD's official recommendation, or the cutoff now, is 1.3 volts, but the board vendors can still technically set whatever they want. So even though the AGESA update can lock down and start restricting the voltage, the problem is Asus, their 1.3 number manifests itself as something like 1.34 volts. So it is still on the high side. By the way, 1.25 volts is fine for a lot of these kits that are on the market. So
like I also wonder too, like this is gonna hurt AMD as well, but it seems like AMD, they make Asus routers too. Oh my god, dude, that's true. But seriously, like this could hurt AMD as well. But AMD has handled this really well. They're honoring people that have had problems with Expo, and I'm pretty sure they're replacing CPUs. But and then on the Asus side, you know, they're waiting on them to work out the stuff with the motherboards. But this could reflect poorly on this because it's AMD 7000 series. You know, it's new CPUs and they're having problems like this. I'm glad we haven't seen this happen with other motherboards yet. Hopefully this isn't something that's like, oh, the architecture was actually hard to work with the memory controller or something, and that's why this issue happened. Hopefully that isn't what we see with the rest. Hopefully we don't see this issue anymore, which I don't think we have. I think it's just been with Asus and mainly the X3D chips and the memory controllers on them. But yeah,
1.3 is already kind of high, even if it landed there as the get or the outcome voltage, because if you set with this board, if you set Expo through the AMD overclocking menu, as we said previously, it will result in a lower VSOC. So AMD's menu is setting a more appropriate VSOC than Asus's own super advanced fancy premium menu. But the difference is
there were reports. Oh, that's scary. Yeah, that's me not watching the other part.
That VDDIO is incorrect when setting it through AMD's menu, which results in instability and blue screens, whereas Asus's menu just blasts all the voltages, so no problems anymore with stability until it starts dying.
Yeah, at least there's no stability problems. So he does get a little Steve gets a little redundant in this video. So hopefully I'll try to get through the parts that are a little repetitive.
And big problems with stability.
But it's still a really good video. I'm blaming it for that.
And this is where the scumbaggery begins. It's a new phrase, we're coining it now. Asus's BIOS version 1410 is clearly marked as a beta BIOS, but in an instance like this one, people are panicking and they're going to update BIOS because that's what you should do. So beta and the disclaimers here, not really a fair thing to do with at least the way they wrote this disclaimer. This was posted as a rapid, panicked response on May 2nd. Asus states these changes. 1, update AGESA version to combo AM5 PI1007. 2, support 48 or higher density memory modules. 3, SoC voltage for Ryzen 7000 series limited to a maximum of 1.30 to protect the CPU and motherboard. That's not true, as we just showed you.
Yeah.
And they also said this.
They just straight up lied.
Please note that this is a beta BIOS version of the motherboard, which is still undergoing final testing before its official release. The UEFI, its firmware, and all content found on it are provided on the issue.
So obviously they just said it voids your warranty if you go to that, if you could download this BIOS, which is, you're gonna want to download the BIOS. You know, if your CPU could explode. That's the bad thing.
And then they decide we're going to pull that BIOS, no longer supported. It doesn't count because it is not as available. Asus does not give any warranties, they say, whether express or limited, as to the suitability, compatibility, or usability of the UEFI, its firmware, or any of its content, except as provided in the product warranty and to the maximum extent permitted by law. Asus is not responsible for direct, special, incidental, or consequential damage.
What's actually hilarious, and it's just dawning on me right here, but they said the maximum extent permitted by law. So this is like, I think if your board caused a fire and possibly killed somebody or destroyed their property, like the federal offenses, that's what that's talking about.
Resulting from using this beta BIOS. And that's not even to mention the fact
Gigabyte
that
motherboards,
Asus's
MSI
BIOS was
motherboards,
one of
and
the
seeing
first to be
people
based on AGESA
turning in chat.
1.0.0.7, but it's based on an internal test of the branch, and it wasn't meant to be public. It was an internal only version of the BIOS. That's why it says beta everywhere. They weren't supposed to release it. Asus.
This is such a bad look. Oh my god, dude. Dude, if I was at Asus, if I was somebody managing the like damage control or an executive, I'd be firing some people. Like, if it is true that they released a BIOS that never should have seen the public, can't do that.
That's not how any of this works. You don't ship a product that kills other products which are attached to it and then ship an update that says, oopsie, now it won't kill the things that it attaches to anymore or itself, and it's resolved. But also, if you install this, you omit or forego your warranty. It's like it puts them in a better situation than if you just let the board kill the part with the original BIOS that was sold to you from Amazon or whatever, which we have some notes on that, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Now, realistically, none of this actually gets upheld, and you could probably fight it as a consumer, and they would likely buckle because...
So, like, this is the part of the video that I think is really interesting. Is like, they could say all this, but this is all an unreasonable request, and if you were to make a case against Asus, if there was a... what would you even call it? Where everybody comes together to fight a court case. I forget what that's called. Somebody will think of it in chat. But if everybody came together to fight this class action lawsuit, if you all sued Asus, you'd probably win. Yeah, there's like text that they've written things up that you're not supposed to. Yeah, class action lawsuit. Yeah, you got it. You'd probably, even though they have things that are like trying to, protect their ass, they're not gonna win that. This is unreasonable, and the series of events that they've done have screwed over consumers. And like, you could also make the claim that this could hurt somebody because it does cause a fire. So you would want the new BIOS to protect people in general.
This is insane. Asus here is doing something very dangerous for Asus. What's the buzzword that they like internally? The brand credibility is suffering, something that Asus built its brand on, where actually saw a Reddit comment the other day where someone said, "I'm glad I bought ASRock," which is like, Asus, that's a really bad place to be. So Asus is demonstrating a complete lack of confidence here because they feel the need to make a legal CYA statement on something that itself is already a legal CYA statement. It's like a recursive cover your ass statement. Does the coverage get better, or does it start looping back around and become like the human lawyer peed or something? So this shows that Asus recognizes it's rushing out firmware updates in dangerous ways. Firmware is one of the few things that has the power to just actually destroy parts if configured improperly, as we've already seen. That's not good. So if we clear CMOS...
You killed it the wrong way.
And Asus clearly hasn't tested what it's putting out, because it doesn't...
I also want to mention too, it's just like very bold. Not bold, but like unfearing. I don't know what you call it exactly, but like Gamers Nexus is willing to destroy a $700 motherboard to test these things. Like, it's it just gives a lot of faith to the community that they're doing this for the right reasons, I guess. Integrity.
Have the confidence to warrant what it's putting out.
Like me personally, like, I can't afford to do that. I mean, obviously they have money to do this, but at least they're sacrificing things.
It's irresponsible for Asus to even leave this BIOS live if they truly believe that it is such a risk. Either take away the no warranty disclaimer or take away the BIOS. Anything short of that is just, well, it's either panicked or it's conniving. And if it's panicked, then I don't want to be in a room with anyone from Asus when there's an emergency, because...
So... PC is...
They're gonna panic. Now we get to the next part, which is Asus seems to think that all users should just disable Expo. Once again, and I keep coming back to the point because it's so crazy, and buy $500, $600, $700 motherboards that are far more expensive than they used to be, with a lot of features that aren't being leveraged properly, and then not use those features anyway because it would void the warranties and run at default. So we are happy to stop using Expo in our reviews then, to align with this new customer expectation.
So they're gonna do a test without using Expo to show how much worse the performance is. And then this ridiculous claim to not use Expo on Asus part, Asus, it's gonna say it reflect badly on their performance in their motherboards and the performance on AMD. Yeah, and they're willing to burn bridges with them. So did Jay's 2 cents. He also burned bridges with Asus. Too many bad things over and over again.
If the expectation from Asus, and we would expect AMD, is no one should use Expo, then we stop using Expo. What we're about to show you here in benchmarks is a glimpse of that outcome. The problem we had with it was the digging heels in publicly in a big way on the no warranty provided. So we'll do it Asus's way. We're retesting the 7000 series, the 7700X specifically, without Expo. And it's gonna hurt AMD way more than it hurts Intel when XMP is disabled. Yeah. And by the way, we tested Intel's XMP impact on the warranty process years ago at this point. Try to remember to link it below. And we couldn't get them to not honor the warranty even with XMP enabled. But the clear difference here is the repeated statements to stop using it and that it's overclocked. First one, Shadow of the Tomb Raider at 10.
That's how Intel handles it. Hold up. Asus should have started printing the ROG Sesame. Yeah.
1080p had the 7700X originally at 292
just embrace
FPS average
the
in the Asus
sussiness.
board, but because the intended use for this $340 CPU and a 700.
So this is how it looks for Expo on versus Expo off. So as you can see, you're getting what, like about 12% difference or so, somewhere in there, by turning it off. Yeah, and then that puts it neck and neck with last generation. Look, this is my CPU. The 5900X is only performing a little bit worse than the newest gen. It's $100
motherboard is actually stock settings.
Now it looks pretty bad.
We followed Asus's advice and it fell to 252 FPS. So enabling the that's illegal setting of Expo gives 16% more performance, but don't do that because it's not allowed. Likewise, 1% and 0.1% lows fell in step with the average. The 7700X is now actually worse than a 13600K, so by Asus's own guidance, you should literally never buy a 7700X. We're sure AMD will appreciate Asus's help with its marketing. In Cyberpunk, the 7700X's original 231 FPS average result is now invalid. Instead, we
say 40 out of 200. No, it's 40 out of 300.
Fall to 196 FPS. That means that Expo was worth 18%,
It'd be like a sixth
or
of the
enough to
performance.
move the CPU from impressive mediocrity, hardly better than a 12100F, into being actually worth considering. The lows also fell with this change. With these new numbers, it becomes clear that an Asus plus AMD combination is the last platform you should buy, and that's on their own recommendation. In Final Fantasy XIV, we lost 30 FPS off the top of the performance and averages, and not far from that in lows. The 7700X therefore falls to 201 FPS, which has it only 7% better than a 12100F. Knowing this, you should buy the 12100F instead.
It's a lot cheaper. 12100F right here. It's a lot cheaper.
It's $240 cheaper than the $340 7700X, and the difference is 7%. So, once again, we're glad Asus could clear.
This isn't that bad. Like in some cases that are really more sensitive to RAM speed, it's pretty bad, but yeah. But Steve also mentioned earlier in the video that this isn't really like any more stable in some cases. Sometimes it's just as bad without Expo. So sometimes it wouldn't boot without it. Mistake is acceptable. How companies handle with the mistake. Yeah, I don't like how they're handling this. They're treating their customers terribly. And I'm glad I don't own Asus right now. I own an MSI as well.
Clear that up for us, because that saves a lot of people a lot of money. They're actually being very altruistic here. One last one. In Far Cry 6, the 7700X fell from 171 FPS to 150, allowing the 13600A to completely trash the CPU in price and performance. Asus is spearheading the best marketing campaign Intel has had in years. Remember, it's for those who dare. So here's the deal. The whole malicious compliance with Asus's request thing, it's absurd. This entire thing we're doing right now, all of it is absurd because it's basically a parody. And it's a glimpse into once.
Congrats, Daz, by the way. So, oh, you're doing finals then? Probably in college. Nice dude.
Again, if Asus is going to say absurd things, then we will happily do those absurd things to prove a point. That's what this video is.
Yeah, that gets me too. Intel doesn't even have to work for this, and Intel's marketing has been kind of like pretty bad recently. So
now we get into the next part. We are consistent with a statement of you shouldn't just trust a company to cover you. And if Asus makes repeated explicit statements that it will.
So what he goes on for this section of the video, it's Asus trust to destroy consumers. He talks about some of the experiences that people have had, and I'm pretty sure that's what this was. And what kind of warranties they would honor, which is pretty much nothing. But I'm gonna skip this section and watch this if you want to see some experiences that people have had. But let's check out the kind of conclusionary kind of things.
If you bought a board off Amazon and it had not the exact correct BIOS from Asus at the time, and you put an X3D CPU in there, it will allow overvolting. Ask me how I know. When you get the purple.
Oh, dude, wait. Oh, God. Wait, was this in the first video? Did he just put 1.55 volts? Oh, God. But CPUs usually run at like 1 point, like under 2, right? Oh my God.
Purple numbers. It's good. They say, but they do allow for performance tuning and DRAM overclocking via PBO2 and Expo memory. To support Expo and or memory overclocking, DDR5 6000 and beyond, SoC voltage has to be sufficiently increased to ensure compatibility and stability. The amount of voltage required varies between CPU samples. Some processors are more sensitive to overvoltage than others, and some are capable of running at higher memory frequencies without needing as much voltage. As confirmed with AMD, any intentional manipulation of these settings can damage the processor, socket, and motherboard.
Raul, we'll get to the Ally pretty soon.
Just to be clear, that line was intentional manipulation of these settings. An important line. So this is actually insane, because no reasonable user will expect that a heavily marketed and relied upon feature being turned on is intentional manipulation of a setting that will cause the CPU to explode. That is not a reasonable thing to say from Asus. The easiest example.
The main problem is another reason why you wouldn't want to get an Asus product right now is like motherboards are something that you just expect to work, and if your motherboard is failing, your reliability as a brand is just like it's down so far. The only way that they really can make up for this is by honoring their customers and helping them out, honoring warranties and helping them through this process. I know it's expensive for their company to do that, but you have to account and budget to help your customers.
Is if you get into your car and it has a sport mode, and you switch it to sport mode, and then the car explodes. No middle step. You turn it to sport mode, and kaboom. It's not like you're modding the computer in the car and you're unlocking things that are inherently locked down that you need to then go and manually turn off.
Yeah, we'll check out the J video too. Maybe not watch the whole thing, but we'll check it out.
Even if we want to interpret it this way. And this is where it comes down to a scenario of death of the author. If you're not familiar with the phrase, death of the author suggests that as an author puts out a published work, if the public then interprets that author's meaning in a different way than the author had intended, it sort of becomes irrelevant what the author had intended.
Steve has such a way with words. No, it's normal. It's because of the mother days. Or honoring mother. I just got it. Would you say all this is happening? I don't know if it's ignorance. It's hard to tell. I doubt it is though, unless they all of a sudden just hired a bunch of new people or something, because they've been in the motherboard business for years and years and years and years. Like, they understand how memory controllers work. Okay, I know this is like newer tech, but they're like an A tier company, and they should be able to handle this stuff.
And in this scenario, what matters is
maybe ignorance with the customer service side of things, though.
That no reasonable user thinks Expo. First of all, Expo doesn't change VSOC. That's the motherboard vendor doing that. They are correct that higher VSOC than 1.0, which is default, is required to get stability, but not necessarily 1.35 or whatever they want to set. But either way, a reasonable user will not expect that Expo On, which is heavily marketed, advertised, and relied upon in AMD's first-party benchmarks and Asus's, will then kill the product. Not only that, but AMD explicitly went on record with us to state that if your CPU dies from this failure, which is inclusive, by the way, to Expo, it is in fact covered under their warranty. They will replace the CPU. They told us that directly. They'll even pay for shipping, like your car. It's absolutely warranted if you turn on sport mode and it explodes. All of this posturing is totally unnecessary, and it's why
it's really like, this is kind of similar to say like how certain motherboards don't allow overclocking on your CPU. Say like the, what are they, like the H and B series motherboards from Intel's side. It's like they can't overclock, and one of the reasons they can't overclock is because, well, they're usually cheaper, and they also don't contain the proper components to handle overclocking. So I gotta burp. Yeah. So basically, they just say, hey, you can't overclock. This would be the same thing. If you weren't able to do it, they shouldn't include the feature in the motherboard. It's irresponsible on their part, basically.
what has us so frustrated. It is bringing it back, therefore not reasonable for Asus to accuse the user of intentionally manipulating a setting which is not being intentionally changed. Asus.
They released a graphics card without thermal pads.
Is the only one that is intentionally manipulating VSOC here. It's their setting to change with that profile. Now, we emailed Asus to ask about the statement. Here's what we said. The short version is that we wanted to know specifically what Asus meant when it said intentional manipulation. When Asus gave us its intentionally manipulative response, it said this, quote, "Thanks for reaching out. The update we released was an in-progress statement we wanted to provide to the community and partners alongside coordination with AMD PR. Let's find the closest bus and drag them under it. The wording you refer to is from an NDA or non-disclosure agreement AMD guidance advisory concerning voltage, as noted in our statement, as confirmed with AMD. Please reach out."
So is this, so they said that they would cover this Expo under warranty, and they told that to Gamers Nexus. Is what this saying is that they weren't supposed to tell them that? That was NDA? Because I don't trust, I have no faith in them handling any situations if they can't even hold an NDA. That's terrible.
Out to AMD for additional clarification in this respect. The new UEFI builds with a new maximum available SoC voltage limit of 1.3 have been pushed out and are available to download on our service and support website. First of all, so that was sent to us before.
I think this is more on the X3D chips. I think there was some issues on the non-3D chips, but they were rarer. Something to do with the interaction with the memory controller on those CPUs.
Before the new 1410 version was released, and the BIOS that was available at the time that we got that email did not stop at 1.3 volts. It was still really high. So that was actually just objectively not true. So that's quick to move on from. This is a nice catch-22 otherwise, because they're basically saying AMD briefed us under NDA. Ask AMD what that detail was. And by the way, we, Asus, are breaching our NDA by telling you we were under NDA for these details. So we did reach out to AMD. We sent them the thread and said, hey, why don't we all just be aware of what one party's saying of the other? And while we did not receive an official answer, our understanding is that Asus's statement was posted of their own volition.
They've been mostly
independently. So we thought it was interesting.
Most brands are mostly good, though. That's how they're handling this situation.
Asus here is avoiding any responsibility, and that's the sad part, because Asus is a brand that has the brand presence.
This is kind of like, when did Like, what did Nvidia do about the melting power connectors on 4090s? Like, what happened there? Like that, their response, the fact that it was taking so long and they weren't responding to people was really concerning, in my opinion. But I don't know how that actually turned out. I have a X670E Extreme, wanted 8 kgs, yes, let's go. What? Some Ryzen gens. Anywho, I have the 7950X 3D, 2 months, manual things, I never had an issue. Hopefully don't have an issue. I hope that thing doesn't blow up on you, my dude.
Presence and power and money to come out and turn this into a massive marketing win. All they had to do.
Those connectors were melting because, well, they still designed a connector that was easy to plug in incorrectly. That I feel like something should happen from that. The fact that it happens so consistently, whereas whoever plugs in their connectors wrong with like 8-pin PCI Express power connectors, like when does that happen? So it is a problem still, and that was poor design if it was that easy to mess up the user error.
Was come out and say, look, get it, we've seen that some of these parts are dying in our boards, and we don't expect that they should die, but if they do, here's what we're doing. Step 1, we're updating BIOS. You'll want to grab that as soon as we're done panicking, running around headlessly and uploading a bunch of shit to our website that might break your stuff. Grab the next BIOS that's actually good. And step 2, if a part does die, in writing right now, we are committing to replacing those parts if they die in this fashion. That's all they really had to do here.
Steve should just do PR for Asus.
A huge win. And this video wouldn't really need to exist. It'd be about probably.
I don't think Nvidia did anything about that.
It's not even the main concern. I mean, obviously, our main concern now is Asus has eroded any and all trust that it had accumulated up until this point, and it needs to earn it back. And secondarily, this whole warranty thing about you all know how we feel about these types of statements. Sir. They are not just saying trust us. They're saying the opposite. They're explicitly saying if you use this BIOS, we're not supporting you, but also you need to use this BIOS. And by the time this video goes up, there's gonna be another BIOS. So maybe they changed the tune, but they've kind of shown their colors at this point. We have plenty of other complaints. I mean, Armory Crate is still baked into the motherboard, so that's
Can we all collectively just say F Armory Crate?
your day 0 exploit waiting to happen in the future. XMP 1 and 2 and Expo 1 and 2 don't mean the first and second.
Let's even say this too, like, maybe there is a company that offers good, like, RGB controller software, but I haven't seen one. My best one I think I ever experienced was NZXT Cam, and that wasn't even that good. But that was a while ago, so maybe it's better now.
Second profiles on the stick, which is the only thing they should ever mean. They also now have another option called the Expo Tweaked, because apparently the first 2 weren't enough. And again, there was the VDDIO issue.
Yeah.
So, you know, this video, the tone, obviously, the first one was...
What's Signal RGB? Is that third party? It might be third party. I'm trying to think. I've heard of that, but I don't remember why. I've never had to use an RGB software, but I have an Asus laptop, and it has Armory Crate on it. There's literally a button on the keyboard to open up Armory Crate. Third party. SteelSeries engine. Maybe SteelSeries is good. I've always heard good things about SteelSeries. I'm sure Asus will correct this soon. They're gonna have to correct this soon, or else their brand is gonna go right down.
Very objectively focused on let's find the problem, but seeing the response to the problem, it becomes more of a social issue and less of a technical one. And that's why it becomes more hyperbolic in the reporting, because we're in a scenario where these are absurdist responses from Asus, and they deserve an absurdist response from the media to hopefully show them, hey, you are being absurd. Why are you being absurd? So 1410 didn't fix the issues entirely. They lowered the VSOC, yes. There are still issues present.
See, basically, it's a major, like, so I apologize for background noise, by the way. It's probably okay, but a little annoying. But the problem is this is a major issue where things are exploding, it's destroying hardware, and it could possibly hurt people. It's unlikely that it'll hurt somebody, but it's possible. Even if they can't make a solution instantly, they instantly need to put out a statement that they're working on it and that they're gonna cover you if anything goes wrong. And if I were them, I know it's hard to like just say this, but like this is a major problem that could hurt people. You're at your own risk if you use your computer right now. Like literally. We're on our way to fix it, but don't recommend using your computer, and we'll have a fix out like in, I don't know, a week or something. That's hard, which it could be even harder for people that, like, obviously rely on their computer for work. So, but genuinely, you have to say something like that. And then yeah, they need to follow up on people, because this whole thing looks really bad on Asus's brand. And this basically all coming out around the same time as I'll pull this up. Let's check out the Linus video about the ROG Ally. So this is another big product they're launching into a new product segment. Okay, handheld gaming PCs. That looks really promising. It's competitively priced. I made a video on this recently, how this could really change the gaming market, because it's actually really cool. And it could almost be a desktop replacement for some people. And it competes pretty heavily with the Steam Deck, which Linus has sitting on the table right here. But yeah, I'm gonna pause the music so that we can hear Linus, because they usually have music on their videos.
The price is $700 and it crushes the Steam Deck. Go buy one. That's what I'm gonna be doing. D-Brand sponsored this video, and sucks to be them, because this is all...
They're good. Like, now the only thing, like all the stuff that's going on with Asus right now really makes me think it could really reflect poorly onto the Ally. And as a company-wide thing, this is a huge mistake, honestly. So, but this product is genuinely pretty good. Like, I think the Steam Deck is more mature at this point in time with its software experience, and it has better battery life, I think. But you know, like this Steam Deck is this ROG Ally is pretty good, and Linus, like, it's a good product. Like, Asus does put out good products. That's the thing. It's just like their PR team and their customer service team is just like not good. Hopefully it doesn't tank this console at a really crucial moment. And that's why I think that they're trying to handle some things under the table right now, with everybody talking about their motherboards. They've even tried to pay people to not give their boards like Gamers Nexus to test them. I might have skipped that part in the video, but that's true. So yeah, the Ally is like faster than the Steam Deck at certain wattages, and it's genuinely a good looking product. Like, if I had $600-700 laying around, I'd probably get it. It looks pretty good. And you have the advantages and disadvantages of it being on Windows instead of it. I'm gonna mute this and let it just kind of play out. You have the advantages and disadvantages of it being on Windows. Like, it's gonna support like every game that's out there, but also the user interface and the battery performance on Windows isn't as good as SteamOS. But it's capable of doing like everything. What's interesting is like everybody's just putting like frame timers and stuff on that Asus Ally, and they're using the same ones that they use on their PCs, because it's Windows. But yeah. So I hope that this doesn't tank this product, because this product is cool. It's genuinely good looking. And I hope this product is better consumer experience. You know? All right. Let me see if I can get to something I wanted to talk about. Let's see. Let's check out the conclusion.
Mobile interface.
Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about was, so Linus said in this that the performance is worse.
4 power profiles, and I'm really glad we did, because we found some interesting stuff. Like the fact that at 10 watts, the Steam Deck mops the floor.
We'll get back to
the
Jay's
Ally,
video.
somehow. Metro Exodus, Forza Horizon 5, and Returnal all saw basically half the performance in both average FPS and 1% lows, showing that, again, no matter what kind of hardware anyone seems to cook up, the Steam Deck just crushes the rest of the field in the super low power draw weight class.
Which is really nice. He says, like, oh, I'm talking.
I don't know what kind of wizardry Valve has employed here, but it is unbelievable.
Yeah, they do that really good power profiling thing on the Steam Deck. But the issue that you have, what was I thinking? Oh, 1 second, let me get my head together. Like this, they need to support it over time. I think somebody's saying that in the chat. But he's talking about like the performance, like wasn't 2 times like what they expected.
We add a bit more juice, where their advantage completely disappears.
Where it's like better here. I am playing games on a tiny screen. So he talks about this here, that this was supposed to be like 2 times the performance on the Ally. But I think what Asus was talking about, let's go to video cards. Yeah, let's go to videocards.com. Where would this be? Just like news leaks, something about the ROG Ally. No. I need to find that. Rumors for the ROG Ally. So what I want to talk about is there is an extreme version of it. Let me don't. Let's check this. Do they talk about it in here? There's an extreme version that has a 12 compute unit processor for graphics process, 12 compute unit GPU, and there's one that has a 4 compute unit GPU. Obviously the 12 one is more expensive, unless they confirm this to not be true. Needs to be docked to get 2x performance. I could see that being the case. I mean, he said it early, but I'm pretty sure they said it was like 50% more powerful at the same 15 watts as the Steam Deck, and then it could get up to 2 times the performance, like above 25 watts or something like that.
Forza's 1% lows,
but it could easily be the extreme version of the Ally that they were talking about in the claims.
Are now double the other way, offering a much smoother and more responsive gaming experience on the Ally. And all 3 games saw the Ally take a sizable performance lead here, anywhere from around 15 to 20% on average. Now,
like, we can see that's a pretty good console, but its reliability with Asus's brand right now definitely isn't good, and Jay's video makes it even worse. That is it. He says they're done. Bro, look how smug he looks at the beginning here. Look at my man. Let's go.
Dear Asus, it's been real, but it's over. All right, everybody, so this is...
So basically, Jay came out and he said, hey, we're not working with Asus anymore. ever again with their channel. Like, one of the main things that's so cool about being like a tech YouTuber at like Jay's scale or like Gamers Nexus scale or Linus's scale or something like that, you get sent so many products. You have to have a logistics team to manage all of the products you get sent. So they're not going to work with Asus anymore.
This is you guys have probably seen Steve's videos
all
about
this.
all the ongoing drama with the 7800X3D blowing up. Steve's got multiple parts in this video, and it's funny because there's some issues I've been experiencing that are really kind of aligning with some of the issues that he's unearthed, if you will. Actually, I don't know if Steve has unearthed it as much as Asus just made it super obvious that they are a company that is no longer worthy of allowing them to sponsor us or your money. And my first obligation on this channel is to the consumer. And so what we're gonna do today is I'm just gonna kind of spit out some stuff about this, some of my own personal experiences and what the future's gonna look like regarding Asus as being a part of our channel. So if it seems a little all over the place and discombobulated, then bear with me. This is only the second time I've had to do this in the last almost 11 years now that I've been running this channel. Asus, as you can see, this is only some of the motherboards we've received just since this last launch, technically last 2 launches. It's a big deal. For us to say, hey, keep your stuff, it's a pretty big deal because we rely on a lot of parts sponsorships to do the builds and the videos and the how-tos and the tutorials and all that sort of stuff.
So how does this make you guys feel? I know some people in chat own Asus products. If you see some of the biggest, let me get Jay at a more flattering frame.
More often than not, we'll receive way
That's
more
worse.
product than we've asked for.
I cannot pause him on a good frame.
Which is kind of...
Okay, that's a little bit better. Lucky you don't have any Asus products. I mean, it's all just disappointing. You know, I've pretty much always seen Asus as one of the top brands that you can trust and have some of the best looking and design products on the market. You know, minus Yeston. Yeston's obviously better, but their products have always been high quality. Kind of similar, like I'd always kind of relate them to like an EVGA. You know, EVGA had better customer service, but I would relate them close to something like that. I can't afford premium anyways. It doesn't change, but they have some affordable motherboards too. Like, does this make you nervous about getting a more affordable Asus product? Just ordered a Strix B550. Luckily, I don't think Strix motherboards are the B550 ones, so AM4 boards are having problems, but I don't know exactly. I mean, he left himself. I wouldn't blame Jay for that though, because they give him a lot of money. Yeah, sadly, Yeston should start making motherboards. ROG stovetop. Let's do it, dude. It can melt silicon. It's awesome. Asus affordable. Yeah, ROG Strix is like not. They're technically different companies, but they're pretty like they work very closely together. And I have heard their routers are pretty good. We have a Netgear router, which with the Netgear Nighthawk ones. But Asus here is like, you know, falling out of trust with me. I don't know about you guys. Like they need to come out with a public statement to kind of redeem themselves. TUF motherboards don't have enough features for me. The low end motherboards usually, yeah. Trading premium. Ooh, I don't know that language. I don't trust them anymore, but I'm not gonna lie. I've just heard more and more things about Asus over the years that I haven't been hearing about other brands. anything that involves like boards of theirs or anything like that, I'm just like, nah. Asus is the only good routers. Features good. I mean, they make good routers. A lot of people use their routers, and they're gaming routers. They make your gaming performance better. By the way, crazy to think I was actually thinking about purchasing Asus motherboard when I upgraded to the M5 platform, but now not so much. I mean, you can still do it. It's up to you. It's all up to the consumer if you still trust them enough. Yeah, dang man, that is an expensive board. Hope you like it though. But I feel like we've had a good segment here on Asus. I mean, like honestly, it's a good value, isn't it? If you want to get a space heater and you want to cook your food at the same time. They need to integrate an air fryer into it though, because you can't just have like chicken. You can't just like fry your chicken. You need to also get like some fries or some tater tots or something, you know? Make crinkle cuts. Yeah, there you go. You want to risk, if anything, then warranty, bad customer service. Boycott them now. If we boycott, like, I wouldn't blame people for boycotting them. And I think a lot of people are going to hear about this. So I wanted to move on from Asus because I think the message is pretty clear that they're pretty scummy right now. They're just not honoring warranties. They're trying to play you into a trap to void your warranty unintentionally and possibly destroy your components. It's pretty scummy. If you're gonna do that, you might as well just buy on the used market for cheaper anyways. Next, do you think it's too late for Asus to turn this? They can turn it around. They have to apologize like pretty soon. But if they stick to their guns and they double down, that is not good. And whoever's on their PR team should get fired. It says what game, Bromoment said what games have you been playing lately? I've just been playing Overwatch, if I'm being honest. I've been climbing in ranked. Slowly but surely. Started playing in October. I was silver 4 tank and I'm up to gold 1. So I'm about to hit plat. Slowly but surely climbing in Overwatch. I wanted to talk about the 4060 Ti, as you can see in the title of the stream. Also want to get into that. Do you play VR? No, I don't. I've never actually even experienced VR. I've only ever experienced the cheap little, like Google Cardboard, basically. Like they just pop your phone into. I've never experienced good VR. And I know it's not that good on AMD, sadly. And I've seen things that some PlayStation VR, like people are working on trying to bring that to PC. But all right, so I want to get into this here, but you can see in the title of the stream, video cards. Let's check out the Nvidia GeForce rumors and stuff. Where is it? There's that, and there's also this. This is, so guys, I made this video, right? That was called The Worst GPUs Ever. Seen it for that talked all about how the 4060 and 4060 Ti are doing the exact same thing, that the problem is having 8 gigabytes, where the 8 gigabytes of VRAM, where the 3070 is having that problem. Does the stream look good? YouTube just gave me a warning that it doesn't look quite right. It says it's not getting enough video. Does it look good, guys? But they were making the same mistake again with the 4060, 4060 Ti with 8 gigabytes on those cards, where the 30, they're going to be like a same performance as a 3070, 3070 Ti. It's just obvious how this generation is going. Okay, yeah, YouTube is acting up then. Okay. Just let me know if something looks wrong and see it. I could maybe drop the bitrate or something. But they're making the same mistake again. So is this Nvidia's apology? They're going to be releasing a 16. Oh, that highlighted really. Oh, oh my god, why is it doing that? It's like, I'm gonna highlight the whole page. Okay. They're gonna be releasing a 16 gigabyte 4060 Ti. And I mean, these are rumors. Let me see what video cards. Yeah, it's being tagged as a rumor. This isn't even a leak. They're gonna be releasing a 16 gigabyte one. Is this Nvidia's apology? Are they listening to what we've been saying and saying that, hey, this like we want to use ray tracing. We want to use ray tracing on a 3070 and we can't use it. Yeah, and they're doing it the most ridiculous way. It is going to be very slow 16 gigabytes of VRAM. Because do they explain it in here? Yeah, the 16 gigabyte unexpected decision by Nvidia, mainly due to there already be a limited memory bus of 128-bit, because they already have 2 gigabytes on each module. Sorry about the cough. It sounded a little gross. That it will mostly improve. It will not improve the bandwidth. Because this is weird. I guess they don't get into it in this article. I don't know where it is, but somebody leaked that they're sticking with the 128-bit bus, so they're gonna put the 2 gigabyte modules, because each one is 30. You get 32 bits for each module, so they have 4 modules. You can usually only go up to 2 gigabytes in each one, but they're going to sandwich it and put it on the back of the board, so you get 4 gigabytes basically for each 32 bits. Which to me seems like a complicated manufacturing process, but maybe it's not that hard to do. I've no clue, but I would just think that you'd try to up the bus width at that point. That would make it a significantly faster card. But I'm wondering if that card might even be faster than the 4070 at that point, if it had even faster memory than the 4070. Somebody already posted game benchmarks for the 4060 Ti. I don't know if it's legit. He said the 4060 Ti, it's already delivered to sell. I mean, it's coming out in May. They're coming out in May, so it wouldn't surprise me. It'll probably be here pretty soon. I mean, that's leaked, or, well, rumored, or I think that was leaked actually. They're coming out around Computex at the end of the month here. So my issue with this card is where they're gonna price it. Okay, they're probably gonna make the announcement at Computex for the rest of the cards too, but also drop the 4060 Ti 8 gigabyte model in May. 1 second. A problem is a 16 gigabyte card is clearly going to be more expensive than the 8 gigabyte one. So where is the 8 gigabyte one gonna sit in the pricing stack? Because we see the 4070. Let's pull up the 4070 here. Yeah, I wonder if Nvidia saw my video that was the worst graphics cards ever. I don't know. It's surreal if they did. Pull up the stats on this card. We're gonna use tech powered up. Oh, by the way, I think CW has a question. What's my opinion on the Turing's 2070 card? Are you saying that because the Hardware Unboxed did a video? He just did a video with the 2070 versus the 4070. It'll probably be faster than the 2080 Ti. I think it will. Because logically, the 3070 Ti was faster than the 2080 Ti. And if it's 16 gigabytes, it could at least do the ray tracing that 2080 Ti can do, because the issue with 3070 right now versus 2080 Ti, they're technically about the same performance, but the 2080 Ti can actually play more games because it has more VRAM, it has 11 gigabytes. So here's the 4070. Launched at $600, obviously. The problem with the 16 gigabyte 4060 Ti coming out is the price on the 4070, I think, is going to drop because it's not selling, or it's possible that Nvidia is just going to severely limit the stock, which is possible, but unlikely. As we can see, we've already seen at least one card for the 4070 go under MSRP. So they can't price it too close to it. They can't price the 4060 Ti 16 gigabyte at like $550 or something like that for that price gap, because this 4070 is already dropping in price. So I feel like the 4060 Ti 16 gigabyte, I thought the 4060 Ti 8 gigabyte was going to be $500, and it basically serve as an upsell, because it would probably perform like a 3070 Ti, but only have 8 gigabytes of VRAM. So you'd probably want to upgrade to the 4070 so that you could actually not get limited. I thought it was going to basically be an upsell to the 4070 to make people want to buy that card. But this, because the 16 gigabyte probably has to be $500, the 8 gigabyte is going to be less than that one. And they probably want to price it far enough away that you want to get the 16 gigabyte, and they're going to make more profit off of you if you do go for the 16. So my opinion, it's the 8 gigabyte model is probably going to be around 400, maybe 450 for lucky. Then it'd be like a small upsell. I'm not 100% sure, because if it is an upsell like that, if you think about it from Nvidia's side, they don't want to overstock the cheaper one, and you know they've already been producing the cheaper 8 gigabyte one. So what is interesting about them not changing the memory bus is that they could retrofit older cards probably to use 16 gigabytes of memory instead of just 8 gigabytes of memory. So if they wanted to upgrade their cards, say the 16 one, their upsell worked and more people are buying the 16 gigabyte model, they wouldn't, like the 8 gigabyte ones hopefully wouldn't rot on shelves. You know, that's what I'm kind of thinking. Everyone is going to hate, but I'm going to get the 4060 Ti 8 gigabyte. Hopefully the price will be $400 or less. Hopefully. I'm not counting on it being $400 or less. I don't think it is. Probably around 450 would maybe be reasonable. I mean, you can't believe everybody on YouTube, but there's tons of problems. I know you can't even believe me. You know, it's crazy. Let me check out this guy. Dre Karis Gaming. I don't know if I'd trust him. It's probably fine, but I mean, it's just speculation. I think me personally, based on, you know, prices of older cards, like 3060 Ti, what did this launch around 400? Yeah. So I would think personally that this new card with inflation is probably going to be 450. Just look at the 4070, got a price bump of $100. The thing about it is the 8 GB, like this 4060 Ti is going to be a great 1080p card. It's going to destroy 1080p and be playable at 1440p. Yeah, if you play esports games, you're not turning on ray tracing and stuff like that. This is basically like the card that, like, if you don't really care about ray tracing, you get this one. Whereas if you want to use ray tracing, you get the 16 GB card. But it's hard to make that decision before you actually buy the card. You know, you don't know if you're gonna like it or not. So it might just be an upsell. 4070 Ti for $400 plus my... I mean, you got it for like... I got a 4070 Ti for $400 plus my 6650 XT. That's basically just like normal, isn't it? It's just like normal price. That's like $700-ish dollars. Isn't the 4060 Ti speculated to be about the same speed as the 3060 Ti? Well, the 3060 Ti isn't that far from it. Oh, it's 20% away from a 3070. So, I think the what the common theory is right now is the 4060 Ti is going to be about as fast as the 3070 Ti. But the thing about it is the price is going up. So it's like, you know, you're getting what you pay for. But you also like in the 4060 non-Ti, just the 4060 is rumored to be about the speed of a 3070. So what we're hoping is like a 4050 matches like a 3060 Ti. Yeah, dang, that's cheap. That's a good deal for you then. Are you upselling people? Let's go. Scamming fools. Yeah, I think this 16 GB card is going to be an upsell. And the reason at this point they're releasing the 8 GB model at the end of May, and then they're releasing the 16 GB one on what was I thinking? They're releasing 16 GB in July, as they're probably hoping to get people to buy the 8 GB one. It's kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. Sounds like Nvidia is charging more for DLSS 3 price performance. That's basically what they're doing this generation. It's going to be more power efficient, which is pretty cool. Say compared to a 4060 Ti is going to be under 200 watts, whereas the 3070 Ti I think was like around 250. This is TDP, which isn't exactly. It's like 300 watts. This is TDP, but that's not like exactly real world power draw, but 4060 Ti is probably going to be around 150 watts, I think. So that's another advantage. Do you care about power efficiency? Depends how much power it costs in your area. But yeah, I'm not exactly excited about these cards either. The real bummer is it being on a 128-bit bus. If it had faster memory, but if it had faster memory, it might compete with the 4070, and it would have more memory. So that's Nvidia covering themselves there. Like, oh god, we need more memory, but we don't want to actually re-engineer the card. Imagine running a Survivor on my system. The 4060 Ti 8 GB is going to have an 8-pin, not a 16-pin. And it's, yeah, upgrading my PS. Yeah, that's true. I don't like the 12 plus 4-pin VHP connectors. Such a pain. So I'm not that hyped about this 4060 Ti. I don't think anybody really is. The performance isn't that impressive. Trying to sell on features like AV1 and DLSS 3 right now, I don't really think it's working. And then inflation's getting to them pretty heavy. But yeah, we're looking at that card's probably gonna be at max $550. Hopefully they don't price it that close, and they're probably not going to price it that close to the 4070. and I don't know. It's like, I feel like they're making that as like a PR move as well. Whereas people have been complaining about VRAM so much lately, they're like, oh, here's more. We slapped some more on the back of the card. So ghetto, but it is what it is. I don't know. What do you guys think about the 16 gig? Does it feel like an apology to gamers? I think the speed of the memory itself is fine, but it's choked by now. I mean, yeah, it's using GDR6. I mean, GDR6 can be pretty fast memory. Hyped one in a 3070 by gonna get one in a 4060 Ti. Dude, if you really want a 3070, look on the used market. These things are, I think, under $300 now. It's a good deal. Or for the same price, listen to this. For the same price of the, let's actually pull this up just for evidence. You might not want to buy used, but like you have to consider the used market when it's this good of deals. Yeah, my eBay. Save searches. RTX 3080. That's a 3090. I'm blind. An apology you have to pay for. Exactly. So 3080s on the used market, which is as fast as a 4070, faster than a 4060 Ti. It's gonna have 10 gigabytes of VRAM, so it's more than 8. But the VRAM is a lot faster, like 700 gigabytes per second bandwidth. But yeah, you're looking at probably about what the same price of what the 4060 Ti 8 gigabyte is going to cost on the used market. So like $430 to $450. If you want something like that, get that. And then you also just check the 3070 on the used market. If you always wanted a 3070, I mean like $320. It doesn't look like they're quite under 300 yet, at least not in the US. But still really good deals. Steals right now. I'm disappointed that these newer cards will have 16 gigabytes variants when the old cards don't get the similar treatment. Wasn't there supposed to be a super variant of the 30 series cards? I'm not sure if anything like that was confirmed. What are those grades? I've never seen those before. What are you talking about, grades? On eBay? I don't know if they ever confirmed any super cards. I don't think the 30 series needed super cards. Super was like, hey, these cards aren't selling well, we have to give you better price to performance, so we want them to sell. So that's what they did. And I'm not even sure with 40 series if they're gonna have the pressure like they did with 2000 series to have to release super cards, because back in 2000 series AMD was really competitive, but this current generation 7000 series AMD Radeon cards aren't that good. So like grade C. Oh, look at this. I'm looking. Maybe they said it on the, I don't know. That's probably just somebody made up the rating for it. I don't see anything like that. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the 4060 Ti. I'll check it. Somebody's just making up that, like, it looks like grade C condition. Most cards are in decent condition. You can ask the seller how they kept it and what they did with it, and if they lie to you, you have a case against them because it's all in writing on eBay messages. So yeah, so I recommend the used market right now. It's pretty sick, especially for Nvidia cards. AMD cards aren't really that much cheaper on the used market, but I did want to yeah, let me check this. 6700 XT. 6700 XT is a pretty good deal. Like 275. Pretty good deal. You know, it's a really good deal on the new market. You guys know the 6700 non-XT? Let me see where this is. Look at this thing. $280 on the new market. Plus you get Last of Us. That's a deal. That's a really good deal. So I don't know, these new cards aren't that exciting. The 16 gigabyte is cool that they're making it. Half-assed apology, but is what it is. But this card right now is the 6700 non-XT. There's only like 2 out there, 2 models that actually sell, because this is like limited run. They didn't really advertise this card. This 6700 non-XT is an even better deal though. That's what's crazy. The 6700 XT is a good deal. Every card on Newegg right now, you get Last of Us with it until the 28th, I'm pretty sure, of May. So if you're looking for an AMD card, brand new, then good deal. This is a good one. 340 for a 6700 XT. It's about 10% faster or 7% faster than the non-XT one. Bought an EVGA 3070 and a 3080 10 gigabyte back to back on eBay. Hoped 30, no backplate. Ugh. So you have to watch that stuff. I mean, I've got all my cards used and I've had good experiences. So I just bought a 4K. Good luck running it. Good luck. Hopefully you have a card with a decent amount of VRAM as well. But yeah, guys, we went over the Asus drama, and Asus is looking kind of Asus nowadays. I don't know about you, but I'm not impressed with them or what they've been doing. And then we also went over the 16 gigabyte 4060 Ti. Not that exciting of a card. Bad apology to the VRAM situation. I could see Nvidia releasing a super series of cards that are literally just the same cards with more VRAM, and that would inherently mean that they have hopefully have a bigger bus. And I don't know. The only thing that's scary about it is like they can do that with like a 4060 Ti. They can double up the VRAM and be okay with it, because that doesn't really infringe on their, like, they offer the studio GPUs that have like a ton of VRAM in them, but they price them so much higher than the other ones, like the Quadro cards, or what used to be called Quadro. They offer those. Sorry, everybody's laughing. You guys hear all the laughing in the background? But if they were to make like a 4070 that had 24 gigabytes of VRAM, like they doubled up the VRAM on that, then I don't know, that's kind of getting into the neighborhood of like, hey, that's a lot of VRAM on a fast card. You might not be able to, like their segmentation of their market is going to fall apart. Nvidia is once again creating a weird product stack where some of their cheaper cards get higher VRAM than it's going to be the same thing like what happened with the 3060 12 gigabyte. Same thing is going to happen again with the 4060 Ti 16 gigabyte. What's funny is that it's so much more expensive. The thing about the 3060 12 gigabyte, it was a significant performance hit to go with that. 3060 gigabyte tech power up. It was a significant performance hit to go with this card. But you got 12 gigabytes of VRAM. So it's like you made a trade-off. Do you want VRAM or do you want performance with the 3060 Ti, which is 25% faster for I think like a $50 MSRP, a $70 MSRP markup. It has faster RAM as well than 3060 Ti. 3080 10 gigabyte or 6800 XT 16 gigabyte. I mean, if you get the 3080 used, it's a better deal right now. But it really depends what you're doing. If you think it's gonna be VRAM heavy, go to 6800 XT. If you care about ray tracing, sorry, but even though the 3080 Ti 3080 can have VRAM problems with ray tracing, it's still better at it, significantly better. So if you're playing games, then yeah. And you also get the Nvidia advantage in creative apps, like if you're using like Stable Diffusion or something, if you're doing AI stuff or whatever else other AI programs there are, you know, that's usually Nvidia. Depends what you're doing. If you're gaming, only rasterization, go with AMD. Oh, you guys ever have this problem where you just accidentally reset all the icons on your desktop? Okay. Okay, it's fine now. I'm curious, at what price point do you think the 4080 should be at? Dude, the 4080 should be like $800 max. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it is such a price jump. I know that makes everything else move down as well, but that's just how it is. Like, generation on generation, your card shouldn't go from $700 with the 3080 all the way until $1,200 with a 4080. A $500 price jump? No. I could see $100. And that would cover, like, $100 would cover inflation. Like, what is that? Like a 16-ish% increase in price? That would cover inflation. That'd be fine. I did it again! No! Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can't wait till the other one comes out. I'm meaning to do this. There you go. Here I am. Yeah. Alright, but yeah, we went over some cool stuff today. I'm basically gonna just call these basically podcasts at this point. That's what we're talking about. Recommend 3070 used. I mean, it's good used. I mean, 3070, at least here in the US, is about $300 used. You know, the VRAM's kind of a problem, but you know. Do you think this is the worst GPU generation ever? I mean, it's the worst GPU generation I've ever experienced. I'm 21, so that puts into perspective. My first GPU was a GTX 770, which I'm pretty sure the 700 series was a bad generation as well. But this is the least exciting generation we've ever seen. Definitely. People don't want to buy it for price, and they're probably not going to make the mistake again that they did with Pascal with 1000 series, because people are still holding on to those GPUs. They want you to upgrade, I'm just going to say. But part of me also believes that Nvidia isn't really focusing on the gaming market anymore. And if you see, I don't know where the evidence is, but they've invested a lot into AI cloud computing, so that companies that want to use AI for their business go through and contract with Nvidia. I'm not sure if the gaming market is something they want to focus on being like super hyper competitive. Maybe that's not where they see where the money's at anymore. It's still a huge market. There's still tons of gamers that will buy GPUs. They might just be increasing their margins so they don't have to think about it as much. You know what I mean? They can focus on AI, cloud computing. See if that bet pays off. I think they've already made a ton of money with AI. I think Cortex did a video on it. Cortex. Yeah, that's who it was. Corteks. Yeah, he did a video on that where they're clearly focusing on AI, and people have already bought out, like companies have already bought space to get their work done. Basically. So people already rented the computing they need. Yeah, and AMD is hard in the gaming market right now. And I think AMD's focused on APUs. And that's why their new generation doesn't look that crazy either. I think both Nvidia and AMD have just kind of like, you know, maybe silently decided like, hey, let's just like not focus on this, let's just make something that's okay enough. And then hopefully it's fine. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap this up. I think we had some good conversations though. Good time. So I'm gonna wrap up the stream. Everybody, say your things. Say your things. I think last week I accidentally left the stream on for like an hour or so. I just forgot to press stop streaming. So. Oh, a little leak for you guys too. A little heads up. Maybe you'll get a little excited. So I showed you that deal on the RX 6700 non-XT. Your boy got one. I'm gonna be trying AMD. It's gonna be a good video. Hope you guys enjoy that. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. Be pretty interesting. I'm excited. It's supposed to come on Monday, so I'm gonna do a good test on it. I'm so excited for it. I've never tried AMD dedicated GPUs. I'm hyped. All right, you guys have a good night, good rest of your day, wherever the heck you are, and see you in the next video. I think I'm gonna make one about the 4060 Ti. It's 16 gigabyte. So you guys heard of most of my thoughts here, but yeah. All right, you guys have a good night. I'll see you. Peace.